I gotta hit start. Oh, we got it.
Yep. I think we're officially live now. All right. So we're going to wait for some people to enter on in before we get going. We'll give them a few moments here. Okay. We are going to get started momentarily if you're just entering. All right. I have Mr. Thomas Castro with me. We are about to start our live right now. We're going to get into some topics. Well, we have a specific topic that we're getting into today that's we believe is going to be very helpful for you. And we're very excited. This is our first live, and we're really excited about it. And we're going to get right on into it. So, those of you who are in right now, hang on in there because we're going to spend the first half hour addressing the topic that Mr. Thomas Castro is going to announce. And then right at that 30-minute mark, we're going to answer questions. So within the last 15 minutes, we're going to be answering questions. So feel free to drop them in the comment section. If we don't get to them in the beginning, like I said, we'll get to all of the comments towards the end. But nonetheless, Mr. Thomas, what do we have on the docket for today?
Man, it's so good to be here, first of all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know you guys call him Coach Michael, but I'm gonna call him Fit. I always loved whenever you had Michael J. Fit and as the main deal, and I'm gonna keep it. So if you guys hear me say Fit, that's where it comes from. I probably won't talk about that every week that we meet, but and I think it's also fitting and that's it, because I think emotionally that's where we have to be, mentally that's where we have to be, physically that's where we have to be. We have to be fit, and I love that about you and the work that you're trying to do, not only for yourself but then also for the people around us. So I'm excited for us to work together and just really get in here and grind away at being able to love on people. Um,
Mm.
Man, super exciting. So today, I mean, I felt like as we're making the title in my mind, I'm like, man, this is kind of a heavy hitter to just get started right off the
They
bat.
all are. They all are.
But I guess there's not really a place that we could start where it's easy, and to be honest, like, we want to be able to serve everybody. So if we're serving everybody, it really means that we got to talk about what's really going on, right? So there's some patterns that we have as people that really lead us to feeling hopeless and resentful and alone. And the key for us is to be able to figure out, like, man, what are those patterns that lead me to that? Am I a bad picker at relationships? Is that what's causing it? Um, I might have some traumas that I haven't talked to everybody about. Is that what's causing it? I might overshare all of my experiences. Is that what's causing it? What is leading me to actually get to a point of like um, having these feelings of being hopeless and resentful and feeling alone, like, and the other thing is, can I ever do away with that, you know? And so I guess let's start right there. If a client was to come to you uh and say, hey, you know what, like, I don't think this relationship could ever work. um I have zero hope for it, right? And this is my second or third relationship maybe, and I just don't think I can do relationships. What patterns would you be looking for, and or how would you tap into that, even if you're not looking for a pattern initially?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, the belief that relationships aren't for me,
Mm,
relationships don't work for me. I
mm,
mean, if you have that belief, even if it's not a belief that you want, so consciously, we might be saying, yeah, I can get into it. I know I can get into it. I can find my person. But if subconsciously that belief is locked in, if that belief is just hardwired in from the
right.
evidence of the past, it's like that's how we self-sabotage because we have that belief. And our
Mhm.
beliefs are so strong and hardwired into us that it's like, well, that's what you're going to project because it's the mental movie that's playing in here. And even if
Yeah.
you don't like that movie, since that's where your attention goes, that's where the energy flows. It's going to promote those behaviors that you don't even know you're doing,
Hmm.
right? And so when we find out our belief system, so first and foremost, where did the belief come from? All right. So then it's, oh, because it happened in this relationship, that relationship, and that relationship. So that's what it must mean that I am not for relationships, or relationships are not for me.
Right.
Right. So then we have to go back. Okay. So then where did that start? And where did that start? And before that, where did that start? Because even before that first relationship didn't work out,
Yeah.
there was more than likely already some belief in there
Right.
that was already programmed from our mom, our dad, or something that happened when we were younger
Hmm.
to promote that idea that relationships aren't for me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing how we keep going at things a lot of times, in our relationships, and we don't even recognize what's going on. It is a subconscious movement, right? So we have those patterns. And matter of fact, even when a pattern's negative, when we break it, we still feel some kind of way about that. I always talk about how, I remember when I was little, I used to sever the ant. There would be a line of ants, like in the kitchen or whatever. There'd be a line of ants, and I would sever it, and they would go crazy in that little area right there. Um, and I think of that for some of our automatic patterns that we get from our system a lot of times, where we're trying to do the same thing over and over again. And even when you try to sever it, it doesn't feel good. Um, it's difficult to do, right? Because we get in the habit of doing these things. And it comes from wiring those beliefs, like you're talking about, just having all those beliefs wired. So breaking them is a really difficult pattern. And I mean, we can look at a lot of different things to be able to see that that's true. What do you notice about trying to help people, and breaking some of the cycles and scenarios that keep them in bad situations?
It's interesting because I want to say I've seen this on a movie too, where they took this like homeless person who was very dirty and they just like lived on the streets, and I don't know, I forgot what movie. I want to say it was a comedy, right?
Mhm.
And then he was dirty his whole life. And he knew that being clean was better for him. And then when they went to clean him, he was like, no, no, you know what I mean? It's just, you know, because change can be very scary.
Mhm.
And that's oftentimes why we stop doing things, is because we're afraid to face the discomfort of change, because it's so scary, because we don't know what's on the other side of change.
Right.
And so we stop, even though we know we change would be better, but facing the discomfort of the process of change, because we're so used to doing those things that blanket our trauma or our insecurities, even though that we know aren't good for us or promoting bad outcomes in our relationship, we still continue to do them because it keeps us safe.
Mhm.
It keeps us protected. It keeps me, all right, I know this isn't healthy for me, but this is how I'm dealing with it. And this is how I've dealt with it before. And to your brain, it's like, well, that's what's kept you alive. So
Used to it.
my
Right.
job is to keep you alive. So let's keep doing that,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so if it's like, if you're now, a belief is now hardwired into your brain that this unhealthy behavior is what's keeping you alive, it would make it, or it's protecting you, or it's keeping you safe even though it's unhealthy for you. It would make it difficult to let go of. Also, and then also there's this. So when we have an identity too, it's like, well, this is who I am though. Like when
Mhm.
things get tough, I run. I don't address them. I don't speak up. I don't talk about those things. No, this is what it is. And so
Right.
that's my identity. And so then when we feel like we need to let go of a part of us, it's almost like letting go of a part of us, like a physical part of us, or saying goodbye to a part of us that's been there, that's kept us alive, that's supported us, that's warned us, that's gotten us to where we are. So it's almost like we're saying we're bidding a farewell to a part of us, a friend that's been there, even though that friend gets us into a lot of trouble.
Right.
And so it's almost like their subconscious is back there just fighting them. And consciously, they're like, no, this is the action. And then in the background, they're just like, no, no, no. But that's why I tell my clients at the beginning, you must use will.
Yeah.
You will it in, because it's not going to just come in so easy. You're going to have a lot of pushback, especially when there's all those years and years of wiring, right? It would take the action to Rewiring, unwiring.
Yeah. And I know too, I talked to some of my clients about scripturally, like bigger than will. And I always feel like there's levels to what we can do. And a big deal is for us to use will. And I think the highest level of what we can use is our spirituality. And that creates an advantage that that goes even beyond will if we can tap into that. So yeah, I love that idea. You know what I was thinking is like, as you were explaining the difficult things, um, that we have to face. One of the challenges I feel like that is a pattern constantly for a lot of us is avoidance. And
Mhm.
I know you and me talked about that in the past too, where we're discussing the idea that avoidance is everywhere. And I mean, I'll just pose that question to our audience right now, like how many of you guys are avoiding? And I think that a lot of times people might say like, no, I'm not avoiding. Um, but then when we stop and think about it, and people have actually asked me this in session, like, well, what would I be avoiding? Um, you're avoiding a hard emotion, you're avoiding not dealing with certain things. There's a lot of different kinds of experiences that we avoid, and we don't even realize it. At this point in time in our life, because we're so used to putting vices in our life that allow us to avoid that maybe are okay for people. Like a lot of people would be like, it's okay if you go to the bar and hang out every Thursday and Friday, that or whatever amount of times you go and hang out. It's okay if you're scrolling on your social media. Like there's a lot of things that are okay to do. It's okay to go shopping, over shop and constantly do that because um, these things are okay. It allows us to be able to do the avoidance frequently, and so that's a bad pattern. And I'll just use the word bad, even though I'm not a fan of it. But that's a bad pattern when it comes time to us doing life well, because at the end of that avoidance, there is a lot of hopelessness and resentment and alone. And so we actually got to step through things and not avoid, whether it's a hard conversation, whether it's being able to deal on the inside with whatever we've experienced in life, whether it's slowing down ourselves to go through whatever processes that we need to go through. We just in your mind, and again, I'll invite everybody who gets a chance to watch this is tap into what am I avoiding? Just ask yourself that. And if you ask yourself that and you clearly and truly want to know, you're going to find an answer to that question. And then the more that you spend time, I know you more time you spend with us, you'll see the things that you actually are avoiding that you have to get a hold of in order for us to be able to get to a different spot. And so I think that's a heavy pattern that a lot of us face as people. I see it coming in to me too when I'm working with people, and I know we can all work on that.
Yeah, because when someone gets an awareness, though, of what they're doing, right? When it comes to avoidance, what I noticed is that a lot of the times when we avoid, we're an avoidant, we avoid the idea that we are avoiding. We
Mhm.
avoid the idea of avoiding.
Yeah.
So we even find ways to avoid avoiding or avoid admitting that we are avoiding. It
Right.
gets to that point, and then we come up with all of these other reasons to give to us
Right.
why we should avoid, why avoiding is not just okay, but it's actually the right thing to do,
Right.
right? And again, and then those beliefs are generated by the avoiding, right? And so what's behind the avoiding? Why would a person want to avoid? And usually it's because of feeling. So
Mhm.
for you, what have you noticed with your clients that is the number one thing that they are avoiding, or why they avoid?
Yeah. So when I was little, I remember um, going to my dad's house and thinking like, man, there's a guy in my closet because I could always um, see this man that was in there when I would go to sleep. To the point where I was super afraid to even get up and go tell my parents or walk past that situation. And awake, but obviously I fell asleep at some point in time because I would wake up in the morning and then I would see that he's not there. So one is, I could see he's not there, and two, I woke up, so I must have fell asleep. But I felt like I was awake for a long time, and but I kept like pushing it away, and I would even tell my stepmom whenever it was daylight, like there is somebody in my closet. He only comes at nighttime though. And I'm gonna finish that story, but that's the part that I want to talk about because I feel like it happens with my clients a lot of times. But the end of the story is finally I thought in my mind like, let me stop avoiding this and let me just go face it. And
Yeah.
so here's my summary with that scenario. I was like, let me tell him like we'll go kill together. I was like, wait, don't kill me yet. Well, I'll go help
Wow.
you, right? So I had this idea in my mind that I was gonna go help him out, and that he wouldn't have to. Well, when I got up and checked it out, of course, it wasn't a guy at that time. There was vacuums with hoses on it, and in a trench coat, and whatever. It was my imagination creating this thing inside the
Yeah.
closet
Hmm.
that I avoided. And so that's where I'll go, is like I'm really not any different than the people I work with. Is like um I think a lot of us do that as people, where we create an image of our mind what something will be based on a what we don't know now or in the future, and then b what we've kind of known in the past, right? So whatever information, we put down the pieces that kind of fill in the blanks for us, and then we create this image of what happens until we go and check it out. So I'm kind of giving away a little
Right.
bit of like how to do it differently, but I think that's a common um, error for all of us in our relationships with ourselves and our relationship with others, is we create this image of what should be feared instead of really being able to check things out and understand. Like we're looking more for um for how to avoid something than really checking it out to see if it's even worthy of our energy, right? So I see that, as people, that we do that way too often, and that perpetuates the pattern of avoidance. And so, can we do more checking out and realize what actually the things are that we're afraid of, that we're trying to avoid? Can we really check that out? Where did that come from? Because it's costing us so much. I mean, we're saying hopeless, resentful, and alone, but what do people do to make those things try to go away? When people feel alone and resentful and hopeless, like, what we do as people is not good. Like, we cause a lot of hurt because we're hurting in those scenarios. So if we were just to flip it, all the work that we do to try to avoid the thing, like I was telling you, I would take my stepmom in there and say, you got to look, like it's there. And then I would freeze at nighttime, and then I was willing to go kill somebody just to make sure that he didn't kill me. Like, all these things that we created, I didn't have to go a month or so, like thinking that it was a thing. I could have just went and checked it out, and it would have been right there. I could have seen what really was. So it's the same thing with our experiences of fear that we're trying to avoid. Is like, we need to be willing to go check these things out. We need to be able to spend some time looking at and seeing, like, oh dang, like it's not as what I thought. It's not what I thought it was. And a little bit of that is courage. Like, when I came up with that idea that, you know what, let's go kill some people together, right? At some point, like, I just got so fed up with my fear, but it took a little bit of courage for me to make that first step, right? So that younger version of me, I mean, that's the part that I would applaud about him, is that, like, even though it wasn't a good idea what he was thinking, I think the courage aspect of it is a huge deal for us to be able to help break some of the patterns, um, for us to be able to step into something else, instead of us just saying, no, I'm not going to do it, or I can't do it, or I've always been this way, or I've seen everybody else be this way. No matter what, like, we can't just keep on saying, like, hey, it's going to stay this way, it's going to stay this way, right? We've got to go check these things out. And so we need courage. We need courage. And I would say that's one of the things that would help to break some of the patterns that go on, like us trying to avoid things. You gotta be courageous.
And it takes one choice,
Mhm.
one decision away from beginning the biggest change of your life, of yourself
Mhm.
and of your life by just once.
Yeah.
The thing you did before, and you know it, and because you keep doing it. And when you raise that level of awareness, you go, here's the opportunity. All right, fork in the road. Here's my old pattern. Here's my old path. Where has it led me?
Yeah.
But here I am faced with a moment, and my awareness is up, and I know that I am aware of my old pattern, but I know this other pattern, and I know it's uncomfortable, but I'm not going to think about it too much. I'm just going to go in and do it because when I take a cold shower in the morning,
Mhm.
when you wake up and it's cold and you want to get into that cold water,
Yeah.
right? You're
Mhm.
going to
Yeah.
thinking about it. Or we do that when we're at the gym too, sitting there thinking, all right, I got to pick up this head,
Mhm.
when just do it. Let's just go in there and do it without thinking about it because thought has what stopped us before. So why would, right? So what is the action? Is it a thought? Is it an action? Do we need to think more? Do we need to think less?
Mhm.
I mean, for everyone it's different,
Yeah.
but it is in evaluating yourself and finding out, okay, what have I been avoiding and how am I going to approach it? When am I going to approach it? Now I'm going to approach it because this is the outcome that I'm getting. And what
Right.
stops us many a times is we go, well, I'm going to do all of the work to make myself extremely vulnerable and extremely uncomfortable. And I'm going to go through all this painful process. And what if it doesn't work?
Mhm.
And then we
Yeah.
stop and we go, well, I don't even want to try if it's not even going to have to go through all of this. It's not going to be worth it. It's always worth it.
Mhm.
Like, even if with the action that you take in that moment doesn't give you bring anything to fruition in that moment, but over time, that's when it's going to show up.
Mhm.
You do it once, and then that's going to promote another. It makes it easier for us to do it a second time. They say then when you do something once,
Yeah.
the chances of you doing it again increase. But the more you do something, the more you practice at it, the better you get at it. The easier it comes until it's automatic. For in the beginning, it must be manual
Yeah.
before it goes to the automatic.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that it's always worth it. One of my coaches, I remember him saying like, "All work works," and so even if it's not working,
Yeah.
even if it's not working for you, it's working on you. And I think that we as people have to have a different mindset about like what success is and what isn't. And I think this is another thing that helps us to break some of those patterns of avoidance. Is like if your mindset is um, that it's good or bad or that I got an outcome that feels good. If that's our mindset, in order to tell us whether it's working, then we're going to be in a bad spot a lot of times. Sometimes it's just giving us the next lesson that is strengthening us to get to another place. I talk about that for Shine Campus a lot. Is like, to me, it's important for us to have um, a gymnasium for building mental, emotional strength, right? And part of us building mental emotional strength is being able to go through and do hard things, not necessarily knowing the outcome at the end. It's just being able to go through and do the hard things. I just watched like a week ago, I watched a YouTube TED talk on being able to put your body through something and how that changes your wiring. And something as simple as, and you guys could all try this. Fit talked about earlier about the cold shower, but even something like a plank for 2 minutes. When you start rewiring your mind to be able to go through and do things that are difficult, that you would assume that are difficult, because again, a lot of the avoidance factors or things that we're avoiding are not as difficult as we think. Um, but for some of us they are. But as you start rewiring that, a good way to do that is for us to be able to just go through the difficult situation. And so you might feel like, man, I'm trying to, let's say you're avoiding talking to people because you're afraid. I'm trying to talk to people, and I stepped out the door and it didn't work, right? And I would tell you that stepping out the door actually does work. That's one step literally towards getting to the next thing. And so as much as people think like what I'm doing isn't working, it is working. you're just not in a place in life, circumstantially, emotionally, physically, whatever it is, to receive all the outcomes of where you would get to if you would just keep going, right? And so we can't give up on it. You got to make sure you keep going. And so I think that's a big deal. Is yeah, have that resiliency factor inside of you, and find ways to build that intentionally.
Determination
Hmm.
does a whole lot,
Yeah.
and the perspective, your outlook on it. You can defeat yourself before you even start.
Hmm.
My One of my martial arts instructors from the past, Mr. Kirker, he said when his students would ask him, "What martial art is the best martial art? What punch is the best punch? What combination is the best combination?"
Hmm.
And he said, "The one you can make work." It's the
Really?
best one. The one you can hit them with, the one you win the fight with. That's the one that works. And so,
Yeah.
but think about that, even a boxer going in, and there's something to be said with, overconfidence, right? But
Mhm.
something to also be said with not having that confidence going
Right.
in there. Fear can be your friend, but then also fear can stop you from being in that natural flow,
Hmm.
being centered,
Yep.
right? But you know, I see. I got to send a shout out to my beautiful fiance Ina. I seen her. She just dropped a comment, and it looks like we're to the point where we're going to start answering some questions here.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I mean, that's what I think it'd be a good time for us to start answering questions. We've delivered, some good insights, I believe, and we'll see, what comes in the comment section. I'll check in here what I see. I don't see anything just yet.
Okay.
But when you guys come in and start asking questions, we are going to start answering.
And we didn't
Right?
just drop some good insight. We dropped some juice. We were squeezing that thing like we were dropping juice. Yes, sir.
Yeah. If babe, if you're in here, babe, I'm talking to my fiance Ina. If you're
Okay.
in here, can you drop another comment from Instagram and let us know that it's working? Because we're actually on multiple platforms here. We're on the Stream Yard, so let's see who comes on in though. So whatever questions you guys have, feel free to drop them in. Right? But yeah, and that's just the thing. It's not about what you know, but what you do with it, right? Because here's the thing: many of us learn our lessons, but we make the same mistakes, and the reason why that is because we fail to learn how to apply what we've learned. And so application is very important. And we were just talking about like what works. Well, give it a chance to work it, and
Hmm.
and give it a chance for it to work, and continue to do the work. And it's the basic law of cause and effect. Those results have to come out in some way or another, right? So, yep, I
Absolutely.
see Ina. She said, "Yeah, it's working." All right, good to see you two together. I got Azo coming up in here. I gotta introduce you to Azo. I work with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 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 he helps me out with a lot. We'll have a meeting soon. He's a really cool guy.
Okay.
He helps me out with a lot of my website stuff.
I love it.
But yeah, you guys, we're ready for you guys when you guys are in here, ready to answer your questions. We're going to be on here for another 15 minutes. So drop what you got in the comments section. If not, we're going to start telling very bad jokes, very bad dad jokes for the rest of the live. If you guys don't drop your questions down below so we can answer them, we'd love to help. We're going to make this an every week thing. What I'm thinking is we might, I don't know. We'll go based off of what you guys have to say, but I'm thinking maybe 7 next week, maybe 8. I don't know. This seems like a good spot, good time spot.
Yeah, we'll keep looking for what works for everybody for sure.
All right. Melissa John says, I had a question regarding betrayal. Go ahead, Melissa. We'd love to hear it. Okay. Betrayal is quite the thing. You know what I've noticed too, a lot of the times when it comes to betrayal in marriages and relationships is what makes it even more is that they've experienced betrayal before in their life from their family or their friends, from past relationships. Melissa John says, my husband is struggling after my affair and he's very angry. Yep. Anger is oh, here we go. Let's see. Okay, so my husband is refusing to go to therapy. He feels guilty to face people. I'm afraid he will repeat if he doesn't. Mr. Thomas, what do you have to say about this one for Thasha?
So just to clarify the question, it's that the husband um, is the one who was did the cheating, and then and the wife is the one asking the question.
That's what it would seem like.
Okay.
But Thasha, if you can get some clarity on that one, and then Melissa, you said any suggestions on how to get through it. So when it comes to anger, that's a sadness right there disguised. It's transformed, and one of the and you got to think about that anger, resentment, revenge, those kinds of feelings, right? Right. And so the best way to what is anger? Anger is hate. What is the opposite of hate is love. How do you give love? Forgive. You say it, you do it, you show it, you feel it, you believe it, you see it, you listen for it, right? You practice it in all ways, shapes, and forms. Uh, Thomas, do you have something
Yeah.
more?
Um, so to me, it's so anger is actually the second part of our emotions. So anger usually happens, or some derivative happens, because of some other kind of disappointment, some hurt, or some other thing. So it's a secondary emotion. So a lot of times it's a matter of us being able to figure out what that first thing was, to help us really kind of resolve the anger. I think that that's always helpful, is understanding and being transparent about what it was, the hurt. And it sounds like if there's betrayal, then that usually is the situation that that they're looking at, and then um, being able to express it as much as possible. And so some kind of process, like Fit, you do the coaching, and obviously I do therapy. A lot of times the things that we face in our relationships with betrayal look a lot like some kind of other scenarios that we face in our lifetime as well. And so not only are we rocked by what has happened right now, but also the body has memory of what has happened in the past. And so you're usually dealing with those two things. And so that all ends up in an anger kind of sense. Okay. And so I think it's really important to be able to understand like what's underlying, and then try to get to a space where we can get to expressing it, knowing, accepting, and expressing our what makes us be able to have good mental health in scenarios. Okay.
And, and a good thing too, like when it comes to those kinds of things and discovering like what you're really angry about, ask yourself 3 times, like what angers me about that? And what is it about that that angers me? And why does that anger me so much? Right. So it's like appealing the layer process.
Mm-hmm.
But Thasha said yeah, he cheated for 3 years and is involved in a physical affair. It was what we were talking about earlier is avoidance,
Okay.
which more than likely led to his affair in the first place. He was avoiding addressing the issues with himself, avoiding addressing the issues with you, and then, now avoiding addressing your issues. Him continuing to. So avoidance is what it's sounding like is what your husband is going through. Thomas?
Uh, and so, I would take this question a little bit further. So the goal is to make your relationship work, and especially if we're still choosing that person. And I'm not really the type to tell you to stay in a relationship or don't stay in a relationship. But what I would say is, regardless of the feelings of fear that we might have, and so this is our opportunity to look at our own scenario of, am I trying to um, avoid ever having, am I trying to avoid ever having a scenario of hurt again, right? And so we go to try to battle that, and then we stop loving by accident. And loving is not just kindness. Loving is empowerment. It's building a relationship. It's building you on the inside. And my encouragement to you, I can't see the commenters Fit, but if her name was, it Sasha is her name?
Thasha.
Tasha. So,
Yeah.
Tasha, my
Mhm.
encouragement to you is, because we don't have control over what somebody else is doing, limit the focus on what that is and build from the inside out. So, remember this concept that the sun just shines no matter what. It doesn't care if it's if people are like it's too hot, or or oh, I love the sun. It just doesn't shine. It doesn't matter what's going on around it. And I think that's harder as people, because we have more than just the function of building light. Um, but it's really important if you can tap into that concept, which is, um, let me just focus on building me and get good at being the best partner in this relationship that I possibly can. And that's way easier said than done, because again, we don't want to face the hurt. And if somebody's not getting help, then it seems like they might hurt us again. And so my hope is that changes, and we just don't have control over that to take that away. But what you do have control over is keep building yourself up. Um, and I think the more that you can build yourself up instead of looking across the room and really trying to figure out, like, is he going to cheat? Is it going to, is it going to happen again? Then you give yourself a chance to be able to create joy in your heart, and that really changes everything around us. It's highly influential, highly influential. So that would be a way that I would say to start kind of tapping into it. And by the way, the more that we're able to control ourselves, we are able to influence other people. So the more I control myself, my influence grows like crazy. So if I'm doing all the things that I need to do, um, and making my way to creating peace in life, then people jump on or jump off. There all of a sudden there can't be an in between anymore. Okay, and I know this is not the favorite answer. I've talked to so many people. I've dealt with a lot of relationships where there's been infidelity, and so I know it's not the favorite answer. But I promise you, it's the most successful answer, because it gets you right to what you have control over, and it will not leave you powerless. Okay, the last thing I'll give you is, never be afraid to look for what's true. Right? Never be afraid to look for what's true in growing yourself. And so as you keep on pursuing, trying to be in a better spot in life, I think you'll get there with those two things. And you can go back and rewatch this to see what it is that I just gave you.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna put this up. Crystal B right here, and I love that what you everything you just said, and especially the sun. It just shines. It does.
Yeah, no
It's
matter
not
what.
concerned with it. Just no
Yeah, you
matter what,
know
it
what I
just
mean?
shines.
Like if somebody's out sunbathing, it's not like, oh, let me be better for you, right?
Yeah.
Or if somebody's like, let me go inside in the air conditioner, I can't take it. It's like, oh, let me stop shining. Or if the tree
Mhm.
is
Let me
standing in the
stop
way,
shining. Yeah.
yeah, it just does its thing. And for us as people, so often we look at how everybody's receiving us, not receiving us, how they should receive us, and then by accident, we end up appealing to all these different kinds of scenarios and out of our own essence and element,
Mm.
because we're trying to make other things be okay with us, right? Or start
Mhm.
doing certain things, for us to be all right. And we can't have that. We have to be able to flip it and really kind of mimic that scenario, as much as
Mhm.
possible. It's difficult though. It's super difficult. I know it's difficult.
Let me get to Crystal B1. She says, what are some strategies to help trust after infidelity many times, especially when the other person has childhood trauma and abandonment insecurities? So, one of the best things to do when someone is insecure is to secure their insecurities. But first, we must find out in what way they are insecure, not sure about, not safe with, uncertain about, right? And one of the best things you can do to comfort him or her, whoever it is when you take the time to try to understand them. And because when someone's thinking all these things and feeling all these things, what feels better than to like say those things to somebody and have somebody right there going, yeah, oh really, and what did that make you feel? Wow. And then what happened after that? Oh, okay. And then tell me more. Oh my gosh, that must have been horrible. And then what did you do, right? And then they're right there explaining, and they have somebody right there interacting, and it's just so comforting and validating, going, you're there for me. See, think about that. Oh, that is that feeling of, oh, you're there. Okay. I feel safe because someone is there caring for me. Someone is there really interested about how I feel and is really trying to put themselves in my shoes, and how and everything that they're feeling right now, the energy that they're giving me, like they're really trying to put themselves in my shoes right now. They're trying to feel what I'm feeling right now. Oh, thank you for removing some of that feeling for me. Thank you for trying to adopt the feeling that I have because you care about me, because you love me so much that you're trying to adopt that feeling for me. Like that's love, right? And when it comes to those things, it's not about saying the right thing. It's about just that energy and what you give to somebody, what you can offer for them and say, hey, everything I got right here, it's right here on the table.
Yeah.
Whatever you need, I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere. I mean that, Mr. Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that as a good way of being able to interact with each other. And I will say too that I think a lot of good things happen inside out. So one of the big trust factors that happens, I know that people when we're in a relationship, they when they break trust, a lot of times it's hard to trust them. But what we're really saying in those scenarios is, I don't trust that I can deal with the emotional outcomes if that happens again. And that's really important and useful because I want us to get to a place where we can deal and we can live that way. Like I can live in a way that says I can actually trust myself to deal with hard things, because we got to put our hand out there. One time I was watching a video and I love this video. I can't find it anymore. Um, but it was a video where two kids got in a fight, and there was another guy who came around. He's like, I know your guys' parents, like you can't be fighting, like shake each other's hand. And one of them didn't want to shake his hand. The other one put his hand out, and they all laughed at him, and then so he's like, I'm not gonna put my hand out, and he's like, no, put it out again. I promise he's gonna shake it, and the guy doesn't know, but he puts his hand out there again, and then they shook hands. So what I'm telling you guys is, like, if you're choosing your relationship, like, allow yourself to trust that you can deal with hard things, even if it was to happen again. Because if you just look at, I can't trust, then now we're focusing on the anxious part of what may happen in the future, instead of being in what's right now. Today is a good day in our relationship. Do we know it? Right? We're worried so much about what has happened or what will happen, that we stop focusing on the opportunity to do love in this moment. And so, but in order for us to get away from those outside moments, we have to trust that we can deal with hard things, because it could happen again. We don't want it to, but it could. But we have to let go of the possibility of trying to control it. We didn't control it to begin with, otherwise we wouldn't have let it happen, right? And we don't control it in the future either. So what do we have control over? We have control over what we're building inside right now, to be able to give ourselves a good chance to have a relationship in this moment right now. Okay. So I would say part of us building that trust back is really believing that we can deal with the hardship if it goes wrong, because then we can let go again, and we can start focusing on the thing the same way that whenever we found each other, the way we were focusing on each other, like things couldn't go wrong type feeling, right?
Yeah. Those believe and remember, you guys, when you're saying things, when you're saying I can't trust, or I am this, I'll never do that. Remember, those are commands. And you continue to repeat that affirmation, that command enough times, your body's going to absorb it as a memory, as a pattern, as a habit, as an identity, as what must happen. Melissa John says he shuts down. His thing is opening up and allowing himself to be vulnerable, to open up and go to therapy and let these things out. But again, his defense mechanism is shutting down. And more than likely, he tried to open up as a kid, maybe, I don't know. He tried to open up before and he was met with rejection or whatever it was, perhaps. Then he learned, hey, well, it's better to keep my emotions bottled up because I learned my lessons. Anytime I try to speak up, well, bad things happen, right? But
Yeah, and
we'll,
I'll,
we'll
I'll say
continue.
I'll say that the he shuts down part real quick is, it makes sense in our interactions, especially when we hurt somebody. Like, we're doing this, and this is not necessarily what happens physically, but emotionally, right? So somebody's doing this, and then the other person's doing this, and we say like that in our relationship. So shutting down is this kind of movement, right? Getting irritated at each other is this kind of movement, right? And
Yeah,
so we stay in a relationship where we're doing this constantly, right? And I give you this visual so that you guys can actually have it, so you can see this is actually what we're doing emotionally to each other. And we really need to come to each other and do this move. So if you see somebody put their forearm up, what's the best way to get their forearm to go down? You wrap your arms around that person. And so the obviously that's not safe with everybody, but if you're loving somebody and you're choosing them, if you're loving somebody and you're choosing them, and you see their forearms go up, wrap their arms around them emotionally, right? And so the more you find ways to wrap your arms around somebody emotionally, not don't be their enemy because they're having a hard time. Like, hey, put your forearm down. I didn't hit you, or it wasn't that bad. Like, instead of us going at somebody that way, we wrap our arms around. Hey, I get it that you're upset, and you take your time to get to where you need to in life, right? I'm going to keep doing the things that I have to do to get better as a person. And even though it's hurtful to me and scary to me, I will still say that I care about you and I love you and I want better for us. Right? That's us emotionally wrapping our arms around somebody who's not ready, somebody who has their forearms up whenever we're trying to love them. And so, not everybody is in the same moment doing the same things, and that doesn't make ours right or wrong. It just says that we're all in different spaces. So if somebody's still struggling with cheating or doing the things that they're not supposed to be doing, that's between them and the work that they need to do. And it's up to us to be able to get to a different spot to create either a different life for ourselves or somehow create a different life for each other. Okay. So I think it's really important that if there is any kind of guards up or avoidance, which is this too, um, we got to get with the emotional wrapping our arms around each other type scenario. Even when we're rejected, you got to do it one more time, right? And so it's just a matter of us keep thinking like, I'm trying to make the relationship work, but I don't have control over that, so I got to make me work instead, right? And how do I work? Well, I have to do the things that mean get better at relationships. Okay. And so we really focus on that.
You guys are getting premium therapy right here, therapy coaching right here. I mean,
Therapy coaches.
sir, yeah, Thomas is dropping gems right here. If you guys, he calls me Fit. You might call me hear me call him Isaac because we're cousins. We're family here. Little do you guys know here, right? We shared the same Thanksgiving table before, and so we're coming in here and dropping these gems for you guys, but we are going to wrap up, but we will get to the rest of these questions. Thasha, she said, thank you for the wonderful explanation from earlier. So
You're
Thasha
welcome.
says, thank you, as well as everybody does too. Yeah, this is really good stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, Nini, Nini says, hi, my partner confessed that he cheated on me on two separate occasions with random women after I caught him the first time. It's been a year, but I still can't forget the betrayal. How do I move on? So that requires a little bit more, detail of what's happening now. Because if there's first, if there's still things happening now, um, it may make it very challenging for you to heal. But one thing I will point out is that you're trying to do the impossible by trying to forget the betrayal. Okay, so first thing already, you're setting yourself up for a disaster by trying to do the impossible, which you're if I could go longer, I would, right? And I'm not saying it to make fun, but saying it because it is that serious. Okay, it's going to go on. It's going to be a memory for the rest of your life, but it's not about forgetting it. It's about making peace with it. It's about making peace with the past. That's the goal. Making peace with the past, and what that looks like for you, right? What are you doing to heal, to forgive? What are you both doing to heal the damages of the past? You see, are the conversations there? Is the clarity there? Is the closure there? Is the remorse there? Is the compassion there? Is the empathy there? The understanding, the realizations, the growth, the recommitment for the future. So, what have we learned? What got me there? How am I going to stop myself from getting me there again? What are the relationship issues that we had that caused disconnects with us? Let's fix that, right? And so, is there that commitment in place? Because one thing to heal as well from the past is the things that are happening for the future to give us more certainty with our future and where we're going. because again, there's so many factors. There's what happened before, what's happening now, and then do we have a commitment and a solid plan for the future? What does that look like? How do I feel about that? How do we feel about that? Um, so moving on, uh, maybe don't focus on moving on. Maybe focus on where you're at right now and healing where you're at right now, and not trying to focus on forgetting and moving on, rather than staying where we're at right now until we make peace with where we're at and what happened. So then we don't need to move forward. We will just go forward. Mr. Thomas?
Yeah. So, I would also say is when we experience something like infidelity, um, it is a trauma. Like, I know a lot of people wouldn't necessarily call it that or interact with it that way, but that's the most useful way to interact with it in order for us to get through the hardship. Okay, and so in a trauma, just to explain to you what I'm saying and why it might be different for everybody. Um, let's say that somebody goes to war and they hear gunshots, and then that traumatizes them, and then they come back and seemingly they're fine, but then somebody goes and they go get underneath the table. Now that doesn't make sense to anybody, but it makes sense to their body and how they're reacting, because all the scenarios, or the scenario that they faced before, anything that reminds their body, not necessarily their mind, but reminds their body of what just happened, will say, hey, keep me safe. And the body will do that. So there you go, underneath the table. Okay, so let's go
Mhm.
now back to the cheating scenario. In the cheating scenario, um, the betrayal happens. That's the trauma. Now anything that reminds you of that, even though you kind of want to think like, hey, everything's good, nothing's going to go wrong, your body says, something's wrong, it's not safe. Right. And so because of that, um, that will be the hardship of why there can't be a letting go initially, because there is that aspect of what's going on, right? And so Fit started talking a little bit about like some of the strategies to be able to help you to do it differently, but you have to understand the underlying piece of what's going on. I had a friend who got in a car accident, and then we're driving, and I barely tapped on the brakes. It wasn't even a whole lot, but she went into a panic, right? Because again, her body remembered. It had nothing to do. Like, she knew we weren't gonna. There was no car accident threat or anything. We were stopping at a stoplight, right? So it's just a matter of us being able to know that, like, my body has a memory. Okay, so what do I do if my body has a memory? I don't need to try to control that, but I do have to be. I have to respect it and love um, my body as much as possible. So I can't say, oh, it's happening again. There's things like being able to journal what the reaction is, being able to develop a sense of security, which means, and going back to the trust conversation that we were having earlier, of trusting yourself to deal with hard outcomes, right? All those processes are slow. So I hope at least that you're getting some kind of support through either therapy and or coaching that will help you to be able to develop a new sense about what's going on. A lot of times uh, you can re-image what's going on inside of your mind so that you don't have just one thing that some of the situations are pulling on. And that's, we probably need a whole episode on that, Fit, just to be able to say, like, what reimaging would help with as far as trauma and that kind of thing, because a lot of the infidelity is traumatic for us. Okay, we fight over three things, you guys: significance, control, and abandonment. And in infidelity, it's all three of those things that get jostled, right? And so because of that huge jostling of trauma, or that huge jostling creates a trauma, and our body's like, I need to protect you, and so it goes into protector mode, right? So it makes it very difficult to enter back into the relationship, um, and not have some kind of thing, if you even if you don't want to. Okay, so just respect that that's what's going on in your body, and it takes time. Use, and again, you can rewind what Fit talked about earlier. But as far as like strategies go, but just know that this you're dealing with a traumatic scenario, and getting over it isn't that's not what's necessary. Processing it, that's useful. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Love it, man.
Yeah.
We keep dropping these gems. We are going we're going to try to wrap up here, but we want to make sure everybody's questions get answered. So then let's catch
I
up
can't see
here.
the questions on
Uh,
my end. On your end, you can see the questions, huh?
yeah. So on the StreamYard, I can't see them, but I go to the Instagram and
And
where I
you
enter the stream key thing, and I can see
okay.
them there.
All right. Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long as
Crystal B says you guys are a great combo. Thank you so much, Crystal B. That means a lot. Uh, let's see. Break Beyond the Break Life Coaching says yes, making peace with the past for yourself first, and then your marriage. Yeah, if you don't make peace with your past first, or you don't have peace with yourself and your life and your past, whoever else comes into your life, they're coming into that too, or you're bringing that to them. Uh, and he says, "Thanks, Coach Michael. Yes, you are right. I should make peace with the past. Hey, remember, you are right. You are the one that's right. All right." Okay. Crystal B coming in here and saying, let's see, what boundaries should be set with a serial cheater after multiple apologies to not do it again? Oh, I could say a bunch about that one, but I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna leave that one to you, Mr. Thomas. As we'll wrap up, we'll leave off with that one. I'll leave that one to you.
well, it's so I'm a little bit different as far as boundaries. I don't really believe in setting boundaries with other people. I think it's kind of a powerless move. Or I don't think it's a powerless move. I think it ends in powerless experiences, right? Um, because I don't really control what somebody else does. So if I say, "Hey, you're not going to talk to me that way," I set a boundary with somebody. But what if they talk to me that way? I can't enforce that. But the boundaries that are useful are the ones where you say, "Look, as soon as that person, you don't even got to tell them, but as soon as that person says this, I'm not dealing with that scenario." So the best thing is to have a vision for your life and what you want it to look like, and you start doing and moving around that. So your boundaries are best set with yourself, better than they're set with other people, because we don't have control over that, and it leaves us powerless in those scenarios. But it leaves you super powerful if you're willing to set your own boundaries based on the vision that you want for your life. And that's scary. We started off talking about avoidance. We've kind of come full circle, because a lot of times we avoid being lonely, and we'll deal with a lot of things that we don't have to deal with if we'd be willing to set a boundary with ourselves. And so the more that we're willing to find out, okay, what is my vision? How do I want to live? What are the things I want to do? And start working on putting the boundaries around ourselves with how we're going to deal in any specific moment. Um, Man, we're going to get a lot of peace in our hearts. We're going to have a lot of goodness in our life. Okay. Yeah. Don't go to set boundaries with people. I know that's different than what a lot of people say. But over a little bit of time of me telling people to get, set boundaries, I thought, man, like I hear these people come back and say, I set a boundary, and they're right. Like they try to set a boundary, but what the other person just didn't, they don't do what they want to do. So don't put it on anybody else. Just set it for yourself, right? So whatever that boundary may be in this moment, of like, look, I'm not going to focus on X, Y, and Z. I'm only going to focus on this. That's a boundary that you put on yourself. I'm only going to have this kind of conversation. That's a boundary you put on yourself, right? I'm only going to have conversations that build us up. I'm only going to interact in ways that build us up. I'm not going to stay in conversations that aren't helpful to our relationship. Those are boundaries that you can set. You can't control what somebody else does. Okay. Is there a follow up to that, Fit?
There's a long follow-up, but we are going to wrap up. But I will say that yeah, I love that philosophy because here's the thing too. It's for one, keep this in mind. There's no point in setting boundaries that you yourself are not going to honor. Honoring your own boundaries. So those very boundaries you could set for others, you could very well set them for yourself, right? Um, but you know, it's up to you on how you want to go about it because what you allow into your life, like Mr. Thomas was saying here, like, so for example, if someone's trying to disrespect you and you do not deem it as disrespect. You say, hey, you can try to disrespect me all you want, but I'm not disrespected by what you have to say. I mean, that's my own boundary as to where I
That's
don't allow disrespect into my life. So it doesn't even matter how much you try to disrespect me. You can't disrespect me because I keep my respect. You see?
right.
So like a boundary for yourself, right? But
Yep.
so we would get into it more, but we are wrapping up. But the good news is we are coming back next week. I believe we'll be here at 8. We'll see if this spot sticks, but we are
Yep.
going to find something that's permanent, same day, same time every week, and we're going to continue to deliver to you guys anything and everything that's going to possibly help. We come to you guys with the purest intentions of love and support. We're all just perfectly imperfect here on this beautiful planet, this organization, this matrix, whatever you call it as, we're all here and we're all on the same mission. And if we can just combine our energies with love, and I know that may sound some hippie stuff, but love, I mean, there's nothing just more powerful. A wise man once told me that there's only two real things in this life: good and evil, love and hate. And if
Hmm.
you're only choosing one, if you're not choosing one, you're choosing the other somehow. So choose love.
Absolutely.
Mr. Thomas, what do we have to wrap up with?
Yeah, the thing I'll wrap up with you guys is there's always different levels to things, and there's strategies. Um, there's the idea of doing your best and living that to the best of your ability, but the ultimate is spirituality. And so, to me, like you can't get higher than that whenever you're looking for answers. So you guys may come to us, but at some reason or at some way, we prayed before we came on here, just to make sure that we are giving the highest level of information and interaction. And so I will encourage everybody to do the same. I'm not really here to try to convert anybody or to try to make people do a certain thing. But if you want more in your life, you have to really look for it. And the more that you look for it, you'll find what it is that is needed to get you to a higher level. And so stay encouraged by that. Don't be upset by that. Stay encouraged by that. So I'm excited for you guys to get that from us constantly on a weekly basis. I'm excited for us to be able to just grow into what we need to grow in to be able to serve these people and love on them as much as possible. We're straight dropping juice today. They were all getting
Man.
it.
And we were too. You
Yeah.
guys are helping us. The
Yeah.
more the more we see you guys grow, the more we grow too. And
Absolutely.
so that's you're helping. We're all helping each other. Each one teach one. Know one, grow one.
That's right.
I love it. So I love you guys. You're beautiful. You're amazing. You're everything you've ever wanted to be. And everything you want in your life is already yours. Maybe it's just you need to realize it's already in your hands.
Absolutely.
And so much love to you all. Thank you, my beautiful fiance, Ina, for coming in, showing support. My beautiful daughters, if you're in here, I love you both so much. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon. Mr. Isaac,
Yep.
Thomas, I'll see you soon as well, brother. I appreciate you so freaking much, man. You really came in here and woo, you lit it up in here. Thank you.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I enjoy it. I enjoy hearing our conversation together. We align so much.
And
So
we can continue talking probably after we end the live.
yeah,
Isaac and I,
you
we're
guys are
gonna.
gonna get the you guys are gonna get the best parts. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. We'll see you.